All right, this is my presentation on teenagers and addiction for my final project in the course High Risk Populations. Some reasons that teenagers get a substance use disorder later in life or early in life is peer pressure, stress of life, emotional pressure, boredom, parental influence, media influence, ignorance, curiosity to gain attention, addiction, and it's very easy to get these days. I also learned recently, speaking of the media influence, that commercials are now actually targeting women in their alcohol ads. Isn't that charming? So, peer pressure. When kids are young, they want nothing more than to please you. Now, as teenagers, they want nothing more than to please their peers. A teen's self-worth depends on the approval of others, even if they know their behaviors are destructive and counterproductive. Stress. Being a teenager is difficult in many ways. You are being introduced to the real world. Some cannot handle this pressure and find an escape in drugs. But drugs don't solve problems. When a drug wears off, the feelings and problems remain, or they become worse. But this is hard to see at a young age. High stress teens are twice as likely as low stress teens to smoke, drink, and use illegal drugs. Parental influence. The more that a teen is exposed to alcohol and drug use, the more acceptable it becomes in his or her mind. Parents that drink excessively, use drugs, tell funny stories involving excessive alcohol consumption, often promote their teens' drug and alcohol use without even realizing it. Ignorance. Yeah, okay, whatever. Very common thing from even preteens. A little reading can save a lot of suffering. Teens who are not aware of the consequences of the drugs are more likely to use drugs than others. For this reason, government and social organizations spend millions of dollars each year to raise the awareness about drugs. I personally would love to do a presentation at a school one day. I think that would be really neat. I would really enjoy that. This was one that I added. So I remember being in high school and being so self-conscious about my acne. It gave me low self-esteem. I remember I would isolate myself. I sometimes would just, want to just be by myself and like just go to the library for, like for break or lunch, or I would go down different hallways to avoid, like where the boys were, because it's not that I didn't want to see them. I just didn't want them to see me. Or, I didn't want to, run into, I don't know, just certain people or even just anybody. Like I avoided people, I isolated, it gave me anxiety and it caused stress. I wish I would have found this a lot sooner, just to simply having the apricot scrub and using that at least once a day, if not twice a day. I already have my kids using it and they are 10 and 11 and they're using it now in the shower. I just want them to get used to using it, because when I first started using this like years ago, I didn't know you could use it every day. Somebody told me that I can only use it once a week, but my skin is so oily that I use it pretty much twice a day. Sometimes only once, but mostly I use it twice a day. Use it in the shower and I use it to take off my makeup and I use it at night. So I mean, and sometimes I use my secret toner to help with, the glowing and the fine lines, but only when I feel like it, right? Because my skin is that oily. So if you have oily skin, don't be shy in using this. And it lasts so long and it's very cheap. Get your preteens on this, get your teenagers on it. It's so simple and it's great. Anyway, if they have really oily skin. Anyway, that's just my little personal tip. This slide is all me. There was no sources for this. It was all on me. This is a kids help phone in Canada. For this assignment, we were told to look like to find local like programs or kind of like help that would help teens. I thought of this because now all the teens have phones. My 7-year-old now has a phone. Why not put this in their phone for when they just feel like talking to someone, but they don't want to talk to mom, they don't want to talk to dad or auntie or grandma, like they just want to talk to somebody who doesn't know them personally and to just, just vent, and someone that's not going to judge them, someone that doesn't know them, just totally anonymous. And I just think, if in high school, if I would have had a cell phone and if I would have had this number, maybe I would have used it, because it was really hard for me to talk to my mom. It was, I would shut down. I would just, yeah, I would shut down. That was my thing. And, maybe if I had used a number like this, maybe it would have been more helpful. So anyway, I am going to put this in all my kids' phones and I'm going to make them very aware of it and let them know that it's confidential. So for my local support and programs for teens, I am highlighting the Alan Jean Miller Center here in Whitecourt, Alberta. It's literally like right across the street for me. So for an annual teenage membership, it is $238.77. You get 15% off all rec center programs. You get complimentary public skating when available at the rink, which is a neighboring building, for use of the field house, basketball, volleyball, floor hockey, etc. You get over 14 complimentary fitness classes each week: cycling, aquafit, boot camp, yoga. I seriously think I'm gonna get a membership to this place. I've already been thinking about this, and after researching it, I'm just like, wow, it's like $400 for an adult. But anyway, babysitting course. Babysitting courses start at 9 years old. And I think that's also another little thing I wanted to highlight, because if you get your child, obviously, into babysitting, they're going to start making their own money. And also, what's very beneficial about babysitting that you might not think of right now is it gets them busy, and on the party nights, it gets them busy, so they're not bored wandering around, like I remember lots of times where I missed parties and stuff because I had to babysit. So that's a little tidbit for parents to get your kids babysitting. Well, obviously too, like if they have a job as well, that's going to happen. But babysitting, especially because that's when adults go out, is on like the Friday or Saturday nights. And that's when they need babysitters. So it's perfect to get your kid in there, even if they are male. Obviously, that might be a little bit harder to get them to babysit, but I mean, times have changed. So pause. Councils. Okay, so this is in Swan Hill School. This is where my kids go to school. And they have these little junior and senior councils, and that's like a mentorship program. And I thought it was so cute to highlight this and just kind of share a little bit of what they do. So the junior girls, being a girl, discussion of issues pertinent to girls in this age group and building resiliency skills to cope. So being a girl, obviously you probably have an idea what that's about. I think that's very good. And then the boys, standing together, addressing common interpersonal challenges for boys And then the seniors kind of doing the same thing, you know, building relationships, empowerment, healthy, active lifestyle. Having a good role model is an important part of growing up into a healthy young adult. Since some teens don't have quality role models in their lives, they may need a mentor or a guide as they navigate the early stages of adulthood. If you feel the calling to mentor a teenager in your community, you can use a positive attitude and a strong moral foundation to lead them in the right direction. So you can look at this in many different ways. I'm so glad that this came to me as I was doing this, because I was like, that, you know, this obviously the last slide brought me to the inspiration of this slide. And it's, you can look at it like as your child needing a mentor, and you can look at it as your child being a mentor, which would also help them and keep them out of trouble, because they're, you know, they have these kids that look up to them, you know, especially if they don't have younger siblings. They have these people that are, these kids are looking up to them, so they have to stay in line. Or if you're looking at like as yourself, to go to the schools and be a mentor yourself. Well, maybe not go to the schools, but like to be a mentor yourself. And so that's also another way to look at it where you could help. All right, well, here's the sources to my presentation. Thanks for watching.